So, hello everybody, hello Vienna. It's lovely to see you. It's lovely to speak in front of such a large hall.
What do you want me to say?
Would you like to sit in the middle, sir?
Sure.
I think that's well deserved.
Sure.
So, I can't offer the looks of Charlize Theron, but we have one of the most senior statesmen in Europe, or should we say in the world, with us, and we're going to talk about a path to peace despite all odds. Dr. El-Baradei, when we had the run-up call to this conversation, you quoted a Marxist philosopher, Antonio Gramsci, and the quote stuck with me. You said, and I quote, "The old world is dying and the new world struggles to be born. Now is the time of monsters." Could you elaborate why you think that this quote is a suitable description for the present?
Well, Johannes, thank you very much. I think this quote very much stuck in my mind, not because Antonio Gramsci was a Marxist, but because he was a philosopher.
Yes.
And what he is saying that we are going through a transition. And I think right now the world in every aspect is going through a transition. And as he said, the old system is dying. And the new system is still struggling to be born. We're not yet clear what it looks like. And in between, we see monsters. We see wars, we see poverty, we see inequality, we see distrust, we see all the wrong values right now. And we just have to speed up the process, in my view. Just move on, you know. I'm old enough to come with new ideas, but I think what I can tell you that we need to move on, you know. The system that we developed after the Second World War, both domestically and internationally, is not working, you know. International institutions are falling apart. As you look at the Security Council, you get depressed. You look at democracies, you know, in the Western democracy, they are all going through a very difficult re-evaluation, should we say. And the distrust in everywhere. During the Cold War, there was the East versus West. Now you look at it everywhere. You know, it's the East versus West, it's the North versus South. And this is at a time when we just cannot afford the status quo. We cannot afford the confrontation. We cannot afford the distrust. But it's all over the place. The relationship between the major powers is based on confrontation, distrust. If I look between the US and China, the US and Russia, there are problems, clearly, yes. And there are clashes of values. But the solution is not wars. Nobody, let me say that, and recalling my years at the International Atomic Energy Agency, nobody can win a war right now. You know, the major superpower, there is nobody can win a war except if we go for self-destruction.
Yes. And which is a scary scenario.
Which is absolutely,
it's the scariest scenario.
It's the end of us. And if we accept that, then what are the options? The options are cooperation, you know. Whether we have cooperation, whether we have a diverse political systems, whether they have a different cultural approaches, we still need to cooperate. There are major existential threats facing us right now. 4 of them I can tell you.
Yes.
The nuclear arms race, which is first time since 50 years, there is not a single arms control agreement between Russia and the US. It's scary. There is no limitation, there's no framework. Secondly, of course, is the climate change. And we know that we are not doing enough. We know that continue the way we are will be doomed, and we will not get the 1.5 Celsius, which is absolute must. We see the pandemics. There is the WHO, the World Health Organization, saying every day that there will be a new pandemic, and we are not prepared because we are not working together to prepare. And then, of course, you have the fantastic technologies, the AI, and which can go to help us in our life in so beautiful ways, but it can also go into the wrong direction with the weapons. And so these are existential threats, aside, of course, from the ideological fight over democracy and human rights, which is another complicated issue.
Yes. And I mean, with your vast experience as a diplomat with the International Atomic Energy Organization, with the background of the Nobel Peace Prize that you and the organization were awarded together, and as you said, I mean, you said you're old enough. I think you look wonderful for your age, but still thinking about the experiences you have, and you saying that the systems we have in place are not working, do you see alternatives? Do you see working solutions if we can't bridge certain ideological divisions, perhaps? Is there something we can still do?
Of course, there's a lot we can do. You have to start from a frame of mind, basically saying, we want to continue living on this planet Earth.
Yes.
That we are all the same human being. We have a different culture with different attitudes, whatever. But we have to accommodate each other. We have to find a formula. We have no other option. As I said, if war is not the solution, except for self-destruction, then we have to be intelligent enough to find a modus vivendi. We have been fantastic in terms of natural science, and we look all the innovations we are having. But when it comes to social interaction, we are in the Middle Ages. It depends who has the biggest stick to hit the other. And that was even okay at one point, but now it's no longer sustainable, because with the kind of weapons, with the AI evolution, with the hyper security, war is out of by any person unless you are mad. So I need to see cooperation between China and the US. I mean, the superpower I need to find a way, hopefully, that this war, which nobody is going to win in Ukraine, is going to come to an end. Just solution, fair solution, but we need to talk. We need to see an end to this Palestinian, Israeli, killing each other is not a solution, will never be a solution. But we have to, we have to try. As I said, I reach a point of my life when I care about just one thing, the sanctity of human life. That is the only thing I care about, and that's the only thing we need to work on to make sure that every one of us in the South, in the East, in the West, have the opportunity to have human dignity and to live his life in peace and justice.
I think that's a wonderful message, and I think that's a message we can all applaud and all agree to.
To me, it's not a rocket science. I've been, in the last couple of weeks, working with the Vatican. Pope Francis, to my mind, is one of the best politicians right now, frankly. I mean, he speaks about the right issues. He speaks about poverty, he speaks about immigration, he speaks about inequality, and he is initiating something called human fraternity, tutti fraternity. And that's we have been working on. We need to have a new revised code of human rights. The Human Rights Declaration, which we have in 1947, I believe, need to be adjusted. There's a lot of things happening, and we need to have a new framework for human survival. And it has to be based on human dignity. It has to be based compassion, feeling for the other, irrespective, obviously, of color, race, all this, to me, superficial differences. We need to find a way to live together. Ideology has no place. We have to be pragmatic. Democracy is not going to be imposed. We have learned that. Democracy, human rights will have to come from within. Superpowers, major power, Europe has to be a role model. has to be, instead of pontificating, instead of imposing sanctions, it has to be take an integrative approach. It has to show a model where everybody else see that it is worth it to be a democracy, that it is worth it to have a full respect for freedom of speech, for human rights. So it's a different approach. There is nothing new except, as I said, we need to change our mindset. If we recognize that today we are not in any good situation, and I think everybody in the world understands that, we are not in good situation, then we have to work together. We have to find, and in my career, I realize the importance of human interaction. Put yourself in the other person's shoes, continue to talk, and you will discover slowly that you will find an area of compromise to be able to live together. I don't have to accept his way of life necessarily, but he doesn't have to impose his way of life on me. Each one has to have the freedom to have his way of life, obviously, and until we find a better way, a synthesis. End of history, obviously, is not an end of history. Our life is a continuing process, and we will continue to learn. But I still have, and I have to have, faith in the human ingenuity. As I said, when you look at the amount of innovation in medicine, in physics, in everywhere, why can't we have some of this intelligence impacted on the way we deal with each other, we live with each other? But again, I would like to have a sign of hope. If I look at my children,
yes.
My children are absolutely race-free, color-free, religious-free. I mean, for them, their friends are just friends. They don't see anything except the humanity that is embedded in every one of us. And that's what we should have. Forget all the zero-sum games we continue to play. We, in a situation, we are either going to succeed together, or we are either going to fall one after the other. There's no other option. So that is, as I said, the choice is very clear.
I would like, as we're now coming to the conclusion of this conversation, to ask you maybe a personal question. Maybe it's too personal, you don't have to answer it, but large parts of your career, the largest parts of your career, have been dedicated to working towards peace, to achieving diplomatic solution, compromise. I imagine one needs a great deal of patience, and you just said faith in humanity's ingenuity, and one needs optimism to keep going, and you still keep going. And I've been wondering, and that would be my last question, where do you take that optimism and that energy and that faith in humanity from?
I take the optimism and I take the patience because I have no other option. I know the other option. The other option will be self-destroyed. I've seen so much ugliness around the world. I see poverty, I see inequality, I see human arms race. So I have to be patient. My wife would not agree with that, but I have to be patient and I have to be consistent, and I have to continue to try. I mean, that is, we are not superhuman, but we have a duty to try and a duty to follow a decent, essential human values so we can all live together in peace and dignity.
Let's make this the concluding message of this conversation. And please give a huge applause for Dr. Mohammed ElBaradei.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Those of you who have access to the VIP and speakers area will be in room 1 now and go a little deeper into the topic. There's still a few seats. So if you want to come to room 1, join us. I believe there will even be drinks. So we'll go there now, and you enjoy the rest of your evening.